Hey, everybody. Welcome to the eighth and final episode of the home buying process. So we've went through every imaginable process from finding a great agent, finding a lender, the type of property you should be considering, your exit plan, all the way up through the appraisal process. And now let's talk about the final steps. Appraisal's done, everything's good. Now you're on your way to closing. Things to keep in mind throughout the whole process: make sure you're not out applying for new credit. Don't make big deposits into your checking account. If you're going to do anything like that, check with your lender because there are a lot of things verified. They're going to be checking to make sure you're still employed the day of closing. So don't quit your job. Don't change your job, especially from a salaried. Don't change jobs from a salaried position to a commission job. That'll blow your deal away. Those are just some things to keep in mind. But let's talk about what that closing process is going to look like. So, with what's called TRID now, if you're not paying cash, there's a process called TRID where 3 days prior to closing, the lender's going to send you all the documents for review that you're going to be signing on closing day. And now here you're going to be looking at the good faith estimate or LE, whatever it's called now. You'll be looking at the closing disclosure, which used to be called the HUD one, which just lays out all the costs associated with buying the home. Your APR and all that when it comes to your mortgage. But remember, if you had a lease back for the seller that owns the home that you're buying, remember you can't move in until after that lease is up. So keep that in mind. Before you get excited and change utilities to your name, if there's a lease back, make sure that doesn't occur till the day their lease is up. And when it comes to your move in, say that you're planning on moving in, there's no lease back, you're planning on moving in after closing, just make sure that you don't have things planned for 5 o'clock that day if it's on a Friday and it's the end of a month. Make sure your loan has to close, but it also has to fund. And if that doesn't occur prior till 3 p.m. Central or 4 p.m. Eastern, the funds won't be there. You will not get your keys till that Monday. So just find out when you're closing. Ask your lender if they do what's called table funding to make sure that you're going to be able to move in that same day, because you don't want to have appliances scheduled for delivery, furniture scheduled for delivery, all those kind of things. And speaking of appliances, as I mentioned, don't be out buying a bunch of stuff before closing. They will check things like that to see if you've applied for new credit, so don't apply for new credit either. But you're in preparation. You definitely want to get, if there's gas, get that set up, water, internet, things like that. There are companies that your agent can use to get that done. I think one's called Utility Concierge. I can't remember. There's some others. There are sometimes you may pay a little more for that, but it may be convenient, especially if you're moving from out of town. And it used to be closing day was where everybody gathered. Of course, the buyers and sellers don't close at the same time. The seller has their closing time. The buyer has their closing time. Used to be your agent would be there. You would be there. Maybe invite a family member. Well, COVID's changed that. Hopefully, things will be back to normal in that regard, because now the only reason an agent would even attend, and they probably don't even do this now, if you're getting an FHA loan, there's one document that both buyer and seller's agents have to sign, but that's already done electronically now. And right now, you may be signing your documents in a car, maybe under a tent on a table outside the title company unless it's raining. I don't know how they handle that now. I used to go to all my closings, but since last year, 2020, COVID, unfortunately, unless you're a participant in the actual closing, your name's not on the contract, you're not going to be there at closing. So Anyway, it's still a happy time. And once you get your keys, your agent's going to call you and say, hey, the loan is funded. Sometimes they used to give keys at closing and funding. Unfortunately, again, agents aren't involved like they were because of COVID, so they may be left in the lockbox for the buyer's agent to give them to you as the buyer, but you can't technically move in until the agent calls you and says, hey, and they've been called by the title company and said your loan's funded, then you can move in. And after that, here's something you need to know. The following year, if you close before January 1st, or if you close after January 1st of the year you're buying the home in, you're not eligible to apply for a homestead exemption until January 1st of the following year. So if you move in on January 2nd, or if you close on January 2nd, next January 1st, you'll apply for a homestead exemption. In Texas, that does a lot for you, gives you some bankruptcy protection, some tax reduction, some other things. And you'll be getting cards in the mail, throw them away, and have your agent make sure good agents will usually follow up with you. January, you have till, I believe, April or so to get that done. The next year when you actually qualify for that. If you're a veteran, 100% disabled, you may not have to pay any property taxes. If it's less than 100%, then there's some other. Over 65, there's exemptions. There's all kinds of exemptions, which you may or may not qualify for. I hope you found this home buying process series informative. If you think I missed something or you want me to cover another subject, I'd be happy to. Again, as I say, at the end of this video is my contact information. Don't hesitate to reach out to me with any questions. You have a great one. And again, hope you enjoyed this series.